Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast, as always. And we are running into Monday night's player props video, our favorite video of the day. Nate, make sure to like and subscribe to that page, as we do have a couple other videos up for you today, including a couple other games, those Pacers and Bulls, as well as the Hornets and Wizards. But as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a fan favorite, Red Velvet, Kevin Huerter, a favorite of the entire Atlanta area, and for good reason. After he's come back recently, getting back up to full speed, his last two games, he has 36 points. He has 9 threes on 16 attempts, and that's good for a 196 offensive rating, kids. With Bogdan Bogdanovic questionable, Huerter could be looking at easily 30-plus minutes tonight against the lowly Thunder. I think we can absolutely lock in a win for Atlanta here. They've won 18 straight home games against losing teams. Whether they cover 11 points is a bit more dicey. I think you could tease that down or get some juice on that some way. And an easy way to do it is to just take Huerter's scoring prop at 12.5 points, parlay that with the win, and all of a sudden you got a money line of plus 102 instead of the minus 250, whatever it is, right? And for him to get 15 points in a win, that's plus 215. And I like him to hit 3 threes again. I mean, he's been, as I mentioned, he's been red hot, 64% his last 2 games. That's plus 154 on its own at FanDuel. And the Thunder give up the second most triples per game. They give up even more on the road. Obviously not a lights out defense. And then you have the Hawks, who lead the league in offensive rating at home. So a lot to like about this offense here, including their team total, which is 112.5 tonight. So that's another way to target this game without messing with an 11-point spread.
And we've been waiting for this, as we've been saying since, we started seeing it last year with the Hawks. There's going to be 8-game win streaks. There's going to be 8-game losing streaks. Just make sure that you are betting on them at the correct time. And I think it's time to continue riding that wave for them 100% to your point. And if I can get that 12-point spread down to a money line with the need for, Huerter to just get, let's say, 13 points, 15 points. Yeah, feeling really good about that, especially since I think he's got some minutes to put back together after missing a bunch of time. There's no reason to keep sitting him. He needs to get back and keep getting back into the flow of things. And I think we'll see that from Atlanta tonight as well. I didn't even mention that, as we mentioned, DeAndre Hunter out again, and Bogey probably as well. So some good minutes for Huerter coming. Somebody else named Kevin, Mr. Durant, is who I'm moving on to next there in that Nets and Cavs game. Initially wanted to really eye some potential overs for KD, but I think we need to go under in this one, specifically his points. It's under 28.5, or taking his points, rebounds, and assists at 40.5. First thing that jumped out at me is Cleveland, and after losing Evan Mobley and missing and having Jared Allen miss a few games, Colin Sexton's been out. They've actually got the second best defensive rating over their last 5 games, which is super impressive. They're holding teams to less than 100 points to rate. Really nice right now. 5 games in a row versus Detroit, versus Boston twice. They had Brooklyn in there as well, who they kept to 99 in a 10-point loss recently without all their players as well. I think you really have to consider that the Cleveland defense is for real right now. They've gone under in 7 straight. The total in this one's 207. But most importantly, if you like that under as well, which I'm not necessarily eyeing the under directly, but I think KD isn't someone who this is a game for him to come out and really show what he's got going on. He's sort of taken a back seat in a couple games recently in terms of how often he's got the ball in his hands, getting actually the beer, James Harden, who I think we'll talk about here in a minute as well, getting him going. And his usage rate has dropped a bit since Harden has actually gotten going in the last 5 outings or so. KD's usage rate down to about 28%. Before that, he was far and away number 1 in the league at about 43% in the first 10 games, where the ball was just in his hands for 43% of Brooklyn's offense, which is nuts to think about. And he's not going to get any easy buckets against Cleveland, who allows the second fewest free throw attempts. They allow the 4th fewest 3-pointers made a game. And at home, as mentioned, that streak of continuing to not let opponents score 100 points, they're allowing their opponents to average 98.5 points at home, which is incredible. Also in the top 5 in the league So yeah, I think this is a game ripe for KD to not get his totals, for the Cavs to be all up in his business with some pretty good size on the perimeter, as we know. And maybe looking at James Harden's totals and seeing if he can go over, but at the very least, KD unders and not as many points as you might consider, especially after we saw about 180 points scored in their last game against the Cavs.
Yeah, you hit on it right there. I mean, it's about getting James Harden going, and that's why KD has seemed to take a bit of his foot off the gas recently. In fact, sitting a game on Friday against the Cavs last Wednesday, he only posted a 22.6% usage rate, and that is a huge discrepancy between what he started with and what he's done in his last 5 games. Still scoring at an incredibly efficient rate, as he's wont to do, but the Cavs with their pace, with their low-scoring games, you have to like maybe going under with KD. And looking at Harden, I mean, there are some intriguing point doubles here. I mean, his prop is at 23.5. For him to get 25 in a win is nearly plus 200 at FanDuel. For him to get a triple-double in a win, plus 600. And he's getting back to the point where he is all over the floor and flirting with that triple-double on a routine basis. So, yeah, I'd rather take Harden than KD tonight if you want to bet it over.
And I don't really want to take Harden, but if I were going to take either of the Nets players in this one, it would be Harden.
And I definitely would take the over for Rudy Gobert, especially when it comes to his rebounds. 15.1 per game leads the league. And at home, he's up to 15.4 rebounds and 15.3 points per game. Utah obviously is a fantastic offense at home. They can get easy looks all the time. I mean, he had a game recently where he was just 7 for 7 from the field and just had like a 164 offensive rating before he sat in the second quarter. So we're looking at 27.5 points and rebounds, pretty low total there. Or just the rebounds at 13.5 is plus 110 at FanDuel. There should be plenty of rebounds, right? Because Memphis has the second lowest field goal percentage on the road this season. They still play with a ton of pace. They're dead last in defensive rating on the road. They give up 117 points per game. They give up the third highest field goal percentage and the 7th most paint points per game. It all spells good things for Rudy, who's averaging a solid 32.5 points and rebounds in his last 4 home games against Memphis. And should just mention that Utah has stomped Memphis in 4 straight meetings and I think won 8 of the last 9 pretty handily. So tough matchup for Steven Adams now, who's the new Grizzlies center. And just in general for a scheme, especially with Dylan Brooks out tonight, I think we can expect Utah to have a lot of success on offense.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. And, you would think that maybe Memphis would commit to going small and running up and down, but their pace is still under 100 on the season and outside the top 10, closer to about 15th in the league. And Steven Adams is still getting about 25 minutes a game. So Rudy's going to have plenty of opportunity to stay on the floor and they're not going to really run him off of it, which seems to be the only way that you can really neutralize him. But that's not going to play, that doesn't play into Memphis' strengths. When considering how much they're playing the big Kiwi there. So, I would feel good about Rudy getting 13.5 rebounds. Seems pretty low compared to his season average there. And there should be plenty of shots in this game as well, as we mentioned. So moving on to one more, I'm actually also looking at some rebounds for our guy, Gordon Hayward. But I would look at his points and rebounds combined at about 20.5 tonight against the Wizards. Not feeling good about Charlotte handling this game, but I do think that there will be enough rebounds for him to get his there. Points as well is about 15.5, but if you only add about 5 rebounds to that for him to get that total, feel really good about that. You look at what he's done recently on the season, he's averaging 6 boards a game and 17 points, first of all. In his career versus Washington in Washington, he's actually averaging about 18 and 6. And then, what you look at the last 3 times he's been in Washington, he's had 9 boards in each of those. Shout out DraftKings for that quick nugget there, because that was a pretty big turning point for me to go, yeah, Gordon Hayward's points and rebounds combined at 20.5. I think he could get 20 points. And I definitely think he's going to get close to 5 to 6 boards at least, especially if recent history continues with him playing in Washington there.
Yeah, I think he could actually take on a bigger scoring load. Because we talked about in that video on the Wizards and Hornets how LaMelo Ball had a pretty awful shooting night against this backcourt. I mean, with Dinwiddie and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope hounding him, the Hornets might go elsewhere to try to get their points. And Hayward, since having a bad game against the Wizards, has found his offense a little bit more. And yeah, you could definitely get there with points. He could get you there with rebounds. It's a nice versatile bet. Good call there.
Yeah, 100% like that. Yeah, hitting on Gordon recently as well, as he's put up some nice numbers, as you mentioned, in his last 4 or 5 games. So that is all the time that we have for today. Nate, make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We'll be bringing you another gift card opportunity in tomorrow's player props video. And until we see you next, happy betting.